This is Resonance, a podcast for leaders that unpacks the power of song, silence, and strategy.
We believe that great leadership begins with deep listening, not just to others, but to the still small voice within.
It's not just about being a successful leader, it's about being soulfully aligned as well.
In a world moving fast, Resonance invites you to pause and reconnect with purpose, people, and possibility.
We'll dive into some cool stories, celebrate with friends, and dig deep into the music too. 'Cause song has a way of saying what words cannot alone.
So whether you're leading a business, a team, or just trying to lead your own life with more meaning, this is Resonance.
Resonance.
Resonance. Hey folks, welcome to Resonance with my comrades, Mike the Monk Guy Ferrell, Randy Harrington. I'm Steve Azar. Excited about today's podcast. You know, there's something electric about the moments before a concert begins. There's a shared anticipation as the lights go down and the show begins. Today, we're going to unpack the experience of what it means to stand and deliver on stage, a boardroom, all employee meetings, or maybe even your church. These are the moments some people dread, but the three of us live for.
True story. I love those moments when the lights go down, you're getting ready for the concert, you've got everybody all in the, it took you probably 5 hours to get there, get in this facility, and there you are, you're ready to go. The anticipation is just amazing. And this is what we're trying to unpack today. And Mike, what we want to get to here is we want to draw from Steve, but we also want to go into the place of, it's not about being a rock star necessarily that we're talking about. It's about bringing the very best to your audience every single time you get the chance, and really respecting and honoring the relationship between presenter and audience.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Is a magical thing.
Yeah, and it's not really just, whether it's a crowd of 10,000 or whether it's, a meeting with two people.
Yeah.
It's the way that you react, or it's the way that you're working with that audience, whether it's, in that small meeting or in that large crowd. What are the things that you need to be prepared for as a leader in order to be able to do that well? And it's interesting. I just did a workshop this morning, and somebody came up to me and said she had one little part of this meeting, and literally about 3-minute presentation, and she was terrified to get up in front of this group of people, and she said, I don't know how you do it. And I said, well, first off, preparation is everything. And I think, Steve, you would agree 100% that you don't just get up and play a concert. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that.
Well, you learn to be an entertainer, and I guess in y'all's world, you learn to do your job a lot better and communicate better, which is what we're all doing, right? You learn to do that when things go awry, when they get all screwed up. And when you're younger on stage, and I'd like to know y'all's take on this, when you're younger on stage, you probably turn blood red because you want everything because you have prepared. And then all of a sudden the sound guy messed up or the electricity blew. I mean, I've had it all happen. I've been electrocuted on stage. I mean, I've literally had my lips have been numb for weeks after the first time I stepped to the mic, and they said my hair was standing up. The whole place was going crazy. I was able to pull my lips from it, and I didn't think I was ever going to feel my lips again. That was growing up. So, yeah, there's all sorts of things that happened. But now, every time these things seem to happen, knock on wood, I'm so prepared for anything that it's turned into the most entertaining moments when things hadn't worked out like you planned. And I think that comes with comfort and knowing. But I got to tell you guys something. The time on stage for me is more comfortable than me waking up in the morning and getting out of bed. It is the most comfortable thing I've ever done. And it's come in time to feel that way. And it's the moments I live for. I wish you could zap me to the stage and zap me back, because it's all the time before the flights, right, bus tour, all the time before. It's just the Waffle Houses and beyond, the bad eating, it's so many hours in between shows. And the show is just, for me, is 45 minutes to 75 minutes. So never gives you enough anymore, because once you've had hits and stuff, you don't do the 3-hour sets anymore, or the 4-hour sets like you did when you were a kid.
I loved the Jackson Brown song, "The Loadout."
Yep.
You could just totally identify with that. He's like, just I want to sit here and play the piano just a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Please don't take my piano, because I just want to be in this moment that you're describing there.
The
It's
great
kind of
line in the song is, "You get up and you do it again."
right.
That says it all. You got to just constantly rerunning the day
And it has
all
got to be fresh. And they don't care that you've sung that song 7,000 times and you're sick to death of it. But at the same time, that's the song they want to hear when they come to the show.
I learned something more than I ever learned. I learned along the way with some great blues legends and stuff growing up in the Mississippi Delta, and being mentored. But when I finally got to tour with Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, Bob had not toured in 10 years. So this is 2006 and 7. We played, I think, 48 to 50 shows together. And I remember him rehearsing he played every other day to give his voice a rest. And I remember him going through the entire set at sound check. And I'm the guy that likes to go out and write songs at sound check. That's what I use my time for. Let's get everything like we want it. Let's play a little of a song, but I'm messing around because there's a new arena, a new room, a new feeling. And that was always a place for me for inspiration. I've written a lot of songs there, but he would do this, and then he'd play the same exact set, same exact songs. And sometimes he sold out 4 nights in a row at the Palace in Detroit, and he would still do the exact same thing. And I remember asking him, and he said, "Hey, how good can we make this set?" And, the folks want to hear the songs, and he's got so many, right? So many hits, but he never gets tired of that, because he was going, "How good can we do it tonight?" And that's that. And with my resident gig now, for Viking Cruise Line, my Steve Azar's Mississippi, where I am able to go 3.5 miles down the road to a performing arts theater in Greenville and do our show for 400 people, which is an intimate crowd, right? And then be back on the couch at 2:30, right? So I've gotten sort of the best of both worlds, where the travel's not there, but get to play for people all over the country and all over the world. It's they're coming to me, so it's my own Vegas, my own Branson, and you couldn't make it up. Me moving back to Delta, and all of a sudden that being there. And we've discussed that in our other episode, but that crowd size, you talked about 2 people, 20 people, 600 people. I played in front of over 100,000 people. Every time you take on a new crowd and you're out there, the performance has to be its own unique thing because of the size of that crowd. And then how are they locked and loaded and paying attention? Is it a little bit more of a live, crazy, wild audience? Do you get more in jam mode? How much do you talk between songs, talk about the songs if they're fully engaged? And my show in Greenville for Viking, that allows me to be everything I've ever wanted to be in one show. And it is the perfect show because we've been able to create it, and it fit and be molded to that situation. And there's tons of culture, all my Mississippi stuff with a few hit songs, but mostly my Mississippi songs glued together by the state song that I've been blessed to have written. So I think that those are the moments, but things still go sideways a little bit. It's never perfect when we're doing that show either. And we've got everything programmed, for goodness sake.
So I'm going to bet, even though you've done this show many times, that there's still this wonderful set of butterflies in your gut before you go on. There's this exhilaration that just happens naturally. And it is a kind of nervousness, but you're interpreting that nervousness as wow, as cool, as fun. And this is one of the things that I know, Mike, you and I have talked about. When you have somebody who is nervous or scared or terrified, they probably have very similar feelings as the person who is excited and fired up and ready to go. Their heart's racing a little bit more, their hands are a little clammy, their mouth is a little dry. But one speaker is saying, "This is awesome. This is exciting," and the other speaker is going, "I'm gonna throw up," because this is.
It's interesting because I think that I used to, a little bit like Steve, when I did all of my speaking engagements and still do this to a certain extent, I write it out word for word. And so I script it out. It's word for word. I go over it. I go over it. I go over it. And even like an all day workshop, I'll script out every single slide that I'm going to go through so that I know exactly what I want to talk about. And one of the reasons that I do that is that if I know exactly what's coming next, it's a lot easier for me to react to the people in the room, just like Steve, you do reacting with an audience. Every audience is different, and I think if we know exactly what's coming, I don't have to worry about, I've got a great story. I played in a senior pro-am several years ago and was on the driving range with Gary Player. And I watched Gary Player hit about a dozen 3-irons to a circle about this big. And it was like watching a robot, and he hit him and he hit him and he hit him. And I finally asked him, I said, how in the world? And I was a pretty good player at the time, but I looked at that and I said, how in the world do you do that? And he said, it's practice and it's preparation, because when I'm on the golf course, the last thing that I want to think about is my golf swing. I want to think about the conditions. I want to think about the shot that I'm looking at. I want to think about the strategy that I need to execute. All of those kinds of things are the things that I want to be thinking about. If I'm thinking about my swing, I got a problem, because then I'm not thinking about that shot that I have to execute. And I really took that to heart and have always done that with my speaking as well, that I want to be fully prepared. I want to be fully scripted. I want to know exactly what it is I'm going to say, so that when somebody in the audience reacts, I'm able to respond however the best way to respond is.
You go off script, but you're comfortable and ready for it, right?
Right.
And a comfortable, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. I don't think about, I think about me performing and communicating like we talked about, and that feeling you get when it's connecting. That is the ultimate, most beautiful. I don't want to use powerful, because that word can be misconstrued. Power sometimes is a bad thing. But there is like I've said before, a power in it. And it's just nothing that I've really experienced anywhere. I'm grateful that I get to experience that. But when you're talking about folks in the common workplace, you don't have to. You got to be able to communicate like that, I would imagine, in the office, correct?
Right. Absolutely.
We're not talking about just putting on a conference or a concert. We're talking about everyday life in everyday business.
There's a lot of research to suggest that while I rarely say something is a truth as it relates to public speaking or performance, this is the one thing I think I would lock onto. The research seems to suggest that, and I'm going to just throw this number out, I just made the number up, but 100% of audiences, I'm going to say more or less everybody, if you're an audience member, especially in the US, audiences want the performer to succeed. There are certainly times that may not be true, but in the general sense of I've come to a show, I'm going to come to see a speaker or whatever it is, they want the person to be successful. And so what happens is, this is what the research tells us, is that 100% of the time, an audience will take on the emotional presentation of the performer or speaker. So if the performer is confident and fired up and ready to rock and excited, the audience starts getting confident, fired up, and ready to rock. On the other hand, if the performer is nervous, they're not prepared, they're sloppy, they're not finishing what they're saying, then the audience starts getting very uncomfortable and nervous, and they start reflecting the nervousness that the speaker has. And so then you have the speaker who's looking out and they're nervous, and now they see that the audience is nervous, and now the audience knows that the speaker knows that the audience is nervous. So they get more nervous, and he or she gets more nervous, and you get this spiral going on, and you've seen it happen.
I'm getting nauseous right now. But
right, exactly. You watch it unfold, and it's just like when you see, you go to a kid's school or something, and you see the kid performing, and you're like, come on. Dig deep, my friend. Bring it out. And so I think a lot of time is in those preparation moments is spent on that first 20 seconds, that first 30 seconds, where you're setting that tone with the audience, with the crowd there that says, I'm okay and I'm good to go, and we're going to have a good time here, or we're going to learn some things.
Okay. I've seen it where you have the feeling immediately, and sometimes you have to earn it a little bit. I've seen it happening in the middle of the first song, at the end of the first song, but I pretty much know how the day is going to go. Now, look, when you're in control of the situation and you're playing for folks that are similar, that have come for be cultured and have come
Right.
for a different kind of show that we're doing for Steve Azar for my Mississippi show for Viking. It's more predictable now. But I'm not dealing with 10 different scenarios in a crowd. I'm dealing with 2. And it's come down to 2. They're a little bit more reserved sometimes, and then they're ready to go. And I don't know whether they're heading north or south. It depends, but it's interesting, the energy.
Yes.
And sometimes the folks that are a little more conservative, they are appreciating it more, and you don't know it.
Yes.
So I have to remind myself during every show that this is because we get rated by every passenger.
Sure.
And then you'll go, how did that show get rated higher than that show? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, there's no way. I was there. But because they were just more conservative. But I'm telling you, I see it when I like to go out and kind of just watch who's coming off the bus and say hello, which is something artists usually don't do, but it's my shows. Sometimes I'll greet a few buses before I go in, and then the 10 buses will show up, and then I'm making sure everything's going on, and then I'll start emceeing it before I ever play. And we have other speakers and all this other stuff going and other music. And so it's just about food. It's about us in general. You know who we are in our community when you leave. And it's been amazing, but I like getting out there and seeing what I'm up against. It's not up against anything, but who's coming out of there. And I can tell when they're getting off, if they're a little timid or they're ready to go, but it still doesn't totally reflect the outcome of so I'm still tricked a little bit after all this time. Wow, the ratings from that show was that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going like, I'll still go like that. That just doesn't make any sense to me, but come to the conclusion that those are the things that keep it interesting to me. Another thing that it's always interesting to me to play every day, and that opportunity to get to do what I do is ridiculous. I don't even think it's fair that I get to be
truly an ideal situation to have control over the venue like that. That is an enormous advantage.
Oh, yeah, because you're not walking into some room you hadn't been in, or that you have no control with the sound company, or because trust me, we have complete control of everything. And these days it's automated. Everything's set up, and you go pull up on the screen on your computer, our production guys and all the lighting and all the video wall and all that stuff. It's all programmed. And so it's programmed from the last show. We can pull up a show. You know what? In March of 24, I remember that show sounding better than ever. My guys can pull it up on their screen, and all of a sudden, all the audio of every instrument, every microphone, everything goes back to that moment. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And it's interesting because it really is a great segue into this whole idea of this monk principle I talk about, profound hospitality, which I know is one of Steve's favorites. But when you think about it, I mean, a lot of times we think about hospitality as, the service we're getting, or, we're in a restaurant or a hotel or a concert or whatever. But from a speaking and presenting and engaging standpoint, profound hospitality really, I use the word presence. When you're in that meeting, when you're in that presentation, when you're on stage, you have a presence and the audience connects with it. And if you don't have a presence, they connect with that as well.
That's right.
Kind of like, Randy, you were saying where the audience just didn't, they're nervous about you because you're nervous, so it's that presence, making sure. And I think then it gets into, as you said, Steve, this whole attention to detail, understanding the sound and whether it's me writing out a script or whether it's you making sure all the sound is exactly the way it was back in March of 24 or whatever. That's that attention to detail. And I think, a lot of times we think about that with big events and big speakers and all that kind of stuff. But this comes down to the very simple steps of an employee. I did an employee meeting this morning, and it was, how did we welcome them? How did they feel like when they came into the room and sat down and knew, and this was a group of construction workers. Most of them had absolutely zero desire to be there other than there was free bagels, and, so
how did we get them engaged?
Exactly. How did we engage them? How did we make them feel welcome? How did we make them feel like they matter? Those are the things.
Profound hospitality. I didn't realize I was doing such a thing. I was going out there because it felt like the thing to do. And so when we greet them, I've never done that before shows. So, but I do it after shows. So I do it after. I try
Sure.
to shake every single person's hand on the way out, hug them, a hug. They tell stories, and I get to have those conversations afterwards. When they're coming off the bus, we're trying to get them inside. We give them I don't have to be me till Monday, Bloody Mary, some Milo's tea or lemonade, which is Southern as it gets. And so we sort of take them in, and sometimes we have a gospel choir singing outside, and they're walking into Terry Harmonica Blues, Terry Harmonica Bean, which is a blues legend down in Mississippi from the Hill Country Blues, and a special guy. And it's the first thing they hear and see when they're coming in, and they're in this historic building that we're saving in the name of the arts. And it's just all these things that are happening, and it's amazing. But you know, the part before is just something I've never done until
Yeah.
my own show. And
You
I
didn't really
love
have the
doing it. I love
opportunity.
doing it. I
You
love
can't
doing
do
it.
that in Vegas and things like that. That doesn't,
You could be giving away yourself too soon, or where's the mystery and all that. But with this group of folks, they're ready to really fall in love with everything about it. Look, and it becomes a strong bond in there. It gets really beautiful. And the things they say at the end, I mean, there's so many. I've had men cry on my shoulders afterwards.
Sure.
And that is a vulnerable place to be, because we moved them so much about how much we care about where we are and that sense of place, which we've talked about. It's been amazing. And so we're number one on the Mississippi as the excursion, number one excursion of all of the things they do. Well, there's a pressure in that, by the way, and we've got to stay number one. So, and how do we not get complacent ever during 1 second of the show? So we really focus the crew with the head of all the things with food, our chef that curates the meal, everybody cooking, that's the wait staff, the back staff. There's meetings before. We have production meetings before. Sometimes we'll get in the green room. We'll just, hey guys, everything, da, da, da. So sometimes we will forget to do it because we're moving in a bunch of different directions. We've got curveballs. And I'm telling you, when we don't have that little pregame meeting, I think it's felt, because you just leave one or two or three things to the wayside because you didn't get to talk about it before. So interesting where we are, but the excitement is how great can we be every second? And you can't ever be perfect. It's impossible. So
Right.
we strive just to be as profound hospitality. That is exactly what we're wanting to be from start to finish with everybody there. And I think that we're doing a pretty good job of it, but we want to get better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the key for anyone that's in that position. Profound hospitality is never perfection. It's constant improvement. It's continuous improvement. It's what can we do next that's better. And I think that as a leader, as you're working with your people, as you're working with your teams and those kinds of things, if we're focused on this idea of continually improving the engagement, the way that we react and interact with the people that we work with, those are all things that are vital to success when it comes to building organizations. And it isn't any different than building a great concert or a great show.
But this is the first time that I've been involved with 60 plus employees, and everybody's doing all of these things. And Steve Azar's Mississippi, my name's on it. And if one of the things I'm not used to dealing with goes sideways, it affects the
Absolutely,
overall
it does.
presentation in the moment. But I got to give Viking Cruise Line a lot of credit. Let me tell you, they have a customer base that is starving for culture and history, and they want you to give who you are in the most honest sense. And when you it's the perfect storm in such a beautiful way that they came at this time in my career, and all the folks that are working with us and all the folks that need extra work, that work tables at night and they get to work tables during the day, and they work in the back of kitchens and they get to work, and this extra money and extra income. It's really, truly, that Mississippi River has been a special place for inspiration for me. And it was a huge cash crop. Let me just use that word. It was back, I think, Carter's days, when President Carter did something. He changed the way things were rolling on the Mississippi. Pardon the pun, it dried the business up. We had a lot of people, 60 something thousand, 70,000 people in our town, close to that, I think. I could be exaggerating a little bit, but up in that range. And when I came back home, we're at 28,000 people. So we've lost over half our people. And that's a lot, because that river dried up in a not literally, but did. And so I'm telling you guys, them coming in like they are, it's not only a godsend and a blessing for our community, it's just created such morale besides the income and the extra money folks get to spend in our town and beyond. But it's just the way they do business and the people, the folks that they bring in, the patrons, they're wonderful. I mean, they are wonderful. So they're perfect for where I am in my life too. I
Yep.
just feel like, and I've played for people, and I go, okay, well, I've got to go play for this group, but I miss my show when I go off and do it somewhere else now. And I got to really settle in and realize I got to go entertain. When I come to South Dakota and we do the hit songwriter thing, and with you guys, Mike, I've got to go into the mode of I don't get to have that feeling,
Sure.
that particular
Yeah.
feeling, and get to engage with all these people from around the country who are so warm and gentle and beautiful.
It's interesting, Steve, when you talk about that, because not only are you doing this profound hospitality with those people that are coming in, these guests that are coming in, what you don't realize is you're doing the same thing with those 60 people that are working with you. The key to a great leader is that the people that they work with feel like they're cared about. And I know you well enough. I can guarantee you if I went to every single one of those 60 people, they would tell you that Steve Azar cares about me. And that's one of the great things about profound hospitality.
That's so sweet. But I'm glad you're saying that because I don't ever think of that. I've never thought of that.
Right. And we're so busy. Yeah, we're so busy thinking about the profound hospitality of the guest coming in, but profound hospitality works in with the people that we're working with as well. I made the comment in this workshop this morning that it's how we engage and interact with each other. How are we making someone feel like they matter? Zach Mercurio has a great new book out called The Power of Mattering, and he really talks about that aspect of the more we can make people feel like they matter, the more engaged that they get in their work and the more that they get buy-in to the organization. And, you're doing that exactly with those 60 people that you're working with, Steve.
I love hearing that. Randy, I know it's your time to talk. I need to shut up, but I love hearing that because that comes natural for me. And I feel like I never thought about that translating to the next. So they're getting loved on and then they're going to give love. I've just never thought about that. I don't think in the way that you just said it, but it's definitely how I live my life and how I
Absolutely
work with
it is.
Absolutely. Especially when you're entertaining people,
Yeah. I mean, all of that, I think, Mike, your concept around the 60 people and the focus there really is another important part of establishing this experience of grace in performance. And it's so nice to walk in and talk to an audience that really is there because they care about what they're going to do or learn or decide in that moment. They're not resistant. And if something goes sideways, that's funny or that's okay. Or it's a moment. It's almost makes it better sometimes when those kinds of things occur. And so when that positive flow of energy is happening, there is this profound sense of grace that occurs over a venue or in a moment. And it's hard to describe. It's an electric thing. And this is the thing I think that is the pinnacle of this is when not pentacle, pinnacle. There we go. I said it right. Where the pinnacle of this is you had to be there when the audience leaves and they're like, man, I saw Azar last night at the thing and it was just so great. And you played this. But what I'm saying doesn't even come close to what the feeling was when we were there. You had to be in the room. If you weren't in the room, you missed it because it was just something magical. And that is what we're looking for.
We also have our tour guides, so they're on the buses with folks, and then they're going to BB King's Blues Museum, and they're taking them on different little tours. And those people have to have profound hospitality, and they do. I'm telling you, you don't have to tell them. They come off those buses with the biggest smiles, and they know what they're doing. I mean, they know because they care about what they're not selling anything. They're sharing their love of community and their love of BB King and all and beyond in our churches and synagogues and everything that they get to explore in Greenville. You got to realize was a hotbed for not only the Lebanese Christians and not only in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Italians the same way, the Chinese the same way. There is a culture base that'll blow your mind and freak you out. And so after all these generations of hearing everybody talk, they all talk. I talk probably less Southern than they do, but to hear everybody talk, they're going like, "What happened to y'all?" Like, what happened to you guys? Like, you don't look anything like you're talking. I mean, like, where the heck are you from? And so, it's really interesting, but it's part of our charm. And I think that, and it's very authentic. When you've had 100 and what, you're talking 130, 40 years of it. Oh, that's a long time when our country's only 250 years old. So to be in Mississippi that long, I mean, you become part of Mississippi's fiber and fabric and backdrop and history. And so we get to celebrate that with the people themselves. And
I know you're spoiled now, though. You're spoiled with this because now you're going to go on the road and you're going to play in different places, and it's not going to be the same. And I'll tell you a brief story that I learned from our Navy SEAL friends. One of the phrases they use frequently is if something goes wrong, they'll say something like, well, a good example would be if an instructor came to them and said, well, today for our exercise, we're going to have Swim Fin Appreciation Day. And what that means is to a SEAL is we ain't getting our swim fins today. So yes, we're going to do our 5-mile open water swim today, but it was Fin Appreciation Day, so you're going to have no fins. And so sure enough, they're out there with no fins, swimming their 5 miles, and they're cussing the whole way through. But by God, the next time they put on those fins, it feels really, really good.
Yeah.
To have that happening. And so in our family culture, we'll often talk about taking whatever the negative thing is and putting Appreciation Day on the end of it. So if it's Fresh Food Appreciation Day or whatever it is we don't have. And so you're going to have venue appreciation days when you go out there, and you're going to have staff appreciation days because you're going to be out there and you're going to be giving orders to somebody who's got no idea what you're talking about and doesn't give 2 cents for what you think. But it's a humility source for you.
There you go.
Oh, that's awesome. And that humility, you can't get enough of it, can you? Because
exactly right.
I've had quite a bit. Wynn's going to show me humility in a little while. I know. I'm getting ready when I start talking about my glory days playing sports in YMCA. All right. So, can we take it to the executive level when we talk about profound hospitality? So we've talked about previously that the ability to work with people you absolutely love and respect, and getting to choose now at this point in my life, and you guys get to choose as well. So let me ask, so let me just say this about the Viking execs. We all, we'll go to dinner together when we can, when they're in town long enough. We can't wait to see each other, from the cruise directors to the captain of the ship to the head guy that runs the whole tour, the whole Viking cruise, to one of the top guys in Switzerland, a couple of the guys that we've gotten to know, Yost and Anders. And I mean, these guys scream profound hospitality, and it is so important to them. And we are so locked and loaded together that when things go a little bit, we're paying attention to the numbers, we go, okay, what do we got to fix? What happened, or what's happening great? And, you don't hear from anybody for a long time when there's nothing to do but just keep going.
Right.
But we love them so much. But I think that they are, just thinking about executives who are the ones responsible for all of this happening. And when they get it and get profound hospitality, especially in the business of cruise lines and stuff like Viking,
right,
and they're known to be the greatest. So I get why they're the best, because the people that are running it from top all the way to us, they all love their job. They love the people on the ship. They care about every single person. And so it's easy for us to not let them down. We wouldn't even think about letting anybody down. I take that very seriously. But it's a blast to work with these guys. They are wonderful. They're wonderful.
And I would bet, Steve, that they're the same way with their employees. So, you think about it. I mean, even just thinking about the 60 people that are working with you, I can guarantee you that if you were the type of leader that could care less about those people, that were ordering them around, making sure, well, you just do this, you just do that, and it really comes off as you could care less about them, your show would not be nearly as successful.
And they helped us create this show. We created this show together.
Yeah.
So they listened. And I said, we're not that, we're this. And they go explain. And they wanted to understand that. So they were going, okay. And they trusted. They were very trustworthy, because the money that it took to do it in the beginning was insane. And then at some point we had to get down to reality. Okay, we're looking at a lot of years. Let's see how can we get the number to a certain place, but give everybody profound hospitality without them missing 1 inch of it. Because they said, if we're going to miss anything, we don't want to take that out. So we talked about what we could do to have the same experience, but be more affordable along the way for everybody's sake, and we were able to do that. And then they will go, let's put this back in. I mean, they're not afraid to spend more money if it means one more person is happy. They have said, this one person, I'll get that. They'll go, this one person didn't, they were a vegetarian and they didn't, or this one person was a little cold in the room. And it told us, okay, there's an air conditioned vent on each side of this room, and they blow there. So now we've got all of our wait staff on each row, because it's Roadhouse style, says before they sit there, we want to point out this air conditioning unit. Are you good with it? So it's those little things that we know. So every single person matters. They're not saying that 50 people are saying this. They're saying one. And I'm so impressed by that. Now, can you win over everybody? We're trying, but they're trying. But they're, look, I can start naming everybody in their organization that comes and we're hugging on. And they're the nicest people. But yes, from top on down, you can see the love, and the people that are just starting out, you can tell they hire the people that they feel are going to fit into this whole world of profound hospitality.
Yeah. And I think the key here is that in order for any organization to be successful, whether it's your show or whether it's a business or whether it's some other association or organization, in order for them to be successful, you have to have trust and cooperation. If you don't have trust and cooperation, you've got nothing. And the way that you get trust and cooperation is that you make people feel safe. And by making them feel safe, it means that you make them feel like they're cared for. And that is so vital in order to do that, in order to establish that idea of trust and cooperation. It starts with how you take care of people.
One of the same exact thing, stage to workplace. There's no difference, is it?
Yeah.
Randy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. One of the big trends that we've got unfolding in front of us now in the world of business strategic planning is a strong embrace of a concept you just mentioned, Steve, and that is co-creation. That is, you made that product in relationship with Viking, and Viking made that product in relationship with you. This concept of co-creation is really becoming strong as organizations realize they can't do it alone, as they realize the challenges of the next 24 to 36 months are simply not doable by any individual. And I had this conversation, or some version of this conversation, with a person who was running a food truck locally. And she described that they were having some issues because I live in Eugene, Oregon. And so right now the World Track and Field things are going on here. And we have the wonderful Hayward Field, and all these amazing athletes come here every year. So you're a food truck and you're going to go for 5 weekends and you're going to sell 500 tacos. I don't know. I'm just making a number up. And then now all of a sudden you have this big track meet and they're selling 1,200 tacos. And so they're realizing when we have these big crushes of people coming in, we have to change everything. So they just had a party and they invited all the people that provide them with their food, their meat, their local veggies, the blah, blah, blahs. They had a party for all those people and they sat around and they ate tacos and they talked about, how can we do this better together? How can we deliver a better product to these people? How can we wow them so that we drop the lines, we serve more people faster, quality of the food goes up? And then we recognize, though, it doesn't have to always be that way. So, because we have to be able to scale up and down. And anyway, that's what co-creation can do. And I bring up the food truck just to say, you don't have to be Procter & Gamble to have a concept like co-creation. It's just a mindset that says, invite the people that you depend on to be a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Usually amazing things happen.
Breaking tacos together rather than bread. Are you kidding me?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Beautiful. I could go for some tacos right now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hungry. Wait,
Well,
that is really cool, and I get it. I mean, that is how. I mean, everybody's invested. They're into this thing now, and how great can you all be? And then the end result, the product will be the best tasting taco on planet Earth.
Right. Yeah.
I said, did
or
it
the
work?
best show on Viking Cruise Lines,
Well,
I said,
no,
did it
no,
work?
you're
And
right.
she said, yeah, I think it worked, but I can tell you we're having a lot more fun. And
there
so
you go.
Hey, y'all know what? My partner on this thing, Wesley Smith, is the head of tourism. And we've done a ton of things on this, but we created the show with Viking together. And with my wife, Gwen, because she knows me better than anyone. With all that said, I think about him in general, having a partner. So you think about, you can depend on him. He's so dependable. And then he's a brilliant storyteller. So we've made him part of the show where he's up there telling stories before I introduce him, and then he introduces me. And it's so enriching, his story, the stories he tells about us and our history, and he gets claps and laughs and oh my God, that happened there. It's like insane. So there's so much going on in this thing, but we're using the assets of everyone that are so talented. And in the meanwhile, and of course, he's in tourism, which is profound hospitality, so he gets it. And then our chef, David Cruz, who curates everything, well, he deals with profound hospitality, and everybody else working with us. I mean, we sort of have the perfect group of folks for your type of hospitality you've been teaching me. That hopefully we've been doing, that I just never knew there was such a thing as the word profound hospitality. So I'm going to live with that forever.
I have a question for you, Steve. Change subject slightly. You work with a lot of young performers. So you've got a young performer who says to you, "Yeah, I've learned everything I've learned in my room alone, and now you're asking me to go and play out front and to play out for somebody, and I'm terrified of it." What wisdom would you give them to break the ice and get them to feel comfortable sitting down and picking up a guitar or delivering a speech?
I mean, that's such a great question. I feel like that there's an aura about certain people that are born to do it, and they have this certain charisma about them. Charisma comes in a lot of shapes and sizes and looks and whatever, you know what I mean? But it's just charisma. And when they've got it, feel like when they look in the mirror, they see something that gives them just enough confidence to get out there and learn on the job. Because guess what? You ain't gonna be great in the beginning. If you're even good, you're lucky. But but there's a magic in that person that people see, and it's endearing. And so I say, you look in the mirror and you think you have it. You don't know you're charismatic. People can talk about that, but you can look in the mirror and go, I love this. I want to do this. And you have to have a certain amount of swagger and confidence without being cocky. You can't be cocky. So, because you're going to get knocked down if you're cocky, because you got to expect the worst almost, but you got to go out there and be honest with it. So the only thing I can tell you is go swim in the deep end immediately. You know, it'll be the shit. I'm just saying, just go out there with the sharks right now, because it's going to get better. And you just got to go get your feet wet, and you just got to do it until it becomes the most beautiful thing that you've ever cared to do. And you can't wait to get there the next time. I've had friends that told me there were big acts that told me the first time they went out there, first time they ever played, they were throwing up. And I said, man, I didn't throw up. I was so fired up. I was not that way, and they're great entertainers. But they went about it that way, being sick and nauseous before they could hit any stage.
Well, everybody has their own style, right?
That's right.
So like I have
their
never
own
written
little
down
thing.
everything I've said like you
And
do.
nerves, you talked about nerves. People handle nerves certain ways, and sometimes it takes you to the bathroom before. You can't handle it. You get sick, you get nauseous. But I've never felt those kind of nerves. My nerves, I don't feel like I get nervous anymore. I hate to say it. I anticipate, and I'm focused so much on making sure that I am breathing right and I'm not getting too worked up. And I feel like I've got to be present. And so I'm so focused on that now that there's just now when I got to do a national anthem or something, that gets nerve wracking. Things that aren't every day, every day. When you're in Monday Night Football in Lambeau Field, you should be a little nervous doing the national anthem in -4 degrees. It's just it's going to come with the territory. So, but that's a different situation.
All right. Well, I think we've come to just about the end here, fellas. Randy, you want to give us a quick wrap up?
Sure. I think there's a bunch of takeaways on this one. The first one that I wrote down was, really having a strong organization to your presentation, to what you're doing, so you know where you are all the time. That allows you to adapt to changes and engage with the audience. So it's up to you to be the one to be prepared, is the first thing that we take away from this. A second one, I have the word grace here circled. And that is that's the feeling that you want from people, so that you don't have to be hung up about any little detail. We want to keep the focus on what we're actually there to do, the value of what we're there to achieve. And the last one I have is this idea of charisma that you just brought up. And I would suggest charisma is pretty similar to authenticity. If you're able
Absolutely.
to be who you are and be comfortable sharing who you are, you're going to have that sense of charisma. And that's what you're trying to amplify in those young performers, and say, just get on out there and get in the water and do it.
My biggest takeaway from this whole thing as well is not thinking about the kindness that you put on to the staff and your employees and the people in your life who go off and take that and do the same with the folks that they're taking care of.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about that. And that was a really great takeaway. Kindness carries on, I guess, is the best way.
It does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, fellas. Well, until next time, this is another episode of Resonance, and we'll see everybody next time. Again, you can find our podcast on Spotify, on Apple Music, all of the major platforms for podcasts, as well as resonanceleader.com. So
We appreciate your comments.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Until
And
next
share,
time.
share, you know?
That's right. So, all right. See you guys.
Take
Later,
care.
guys. Thanks for listening to Resonance. Find us at resonanceleader.com.